Hello, and welcome back to the Gentle Shift Health by Choice, Not by Chance. I am Dr. Aaron Kiefer. Today we have Lena Springer joining us. Lena and I have known each other for many years, beginning when she started Nuka Care with me. Lena is a lifelong student and is passionate about finding natural alternatives to staying healthy. Lena has earned many certifications through the years. We likely will be chatting in future episodes because she has so much to offer. Her certifications and licenses include she is a licensed cosmetologist for over 20 years. She's a board certified licensed massage therapist since 2014, a certified reflexologist. She is certified in multiple energy healing modalities, including several styles of Reiki and source point therapy, as well as crystal therapy. Lena is a 200-hour yoga teacher with 150 additional hours yoga teacher training in somatic healing, trauma-informed yoga, trauma-informed yoga, meditation, and yoga nidra. Am I saying it correctly?
Correct.
Which is a practice of finding peace and calm. If that isn't enough, Lena is also a published author with a book titled Shift with Symbols 13 Sacred Symbols to Create a Peaceful Life. And we have her book here on display for those that are watching. Lena owned and operated a hair salon and stepped away so she could be able to focus on natural healing. Lena owns her own business called the Energetic Light Center. She also works a little bit in my office as a cold laser therapist. Well, as you can see, Lena stays very busy. She has a lot to discuss, and today we will be focusing on energy work. Whew. Lena, hello and welcome.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you for having me here. This
I,
is exciting.
I am so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
We met a number of years ago,
Yes.
and we were discussing is somewhere around 15 or so years ago.
Yes.
And you have had quite the journey of your own.
Yes.
So let's start at the beginning. How did your health journey begin?
So I started looking into like natural ways to kind of take care of myself because both my parents actually passed away way too early in life. In my opinion, both had some major health problems that they weren't able to get taken care of soon enough. So they ended up passing away. My father when I was a senior in high school. So I was 17 at the time. And then my mother passed away when I was 26. And the reason what happened with her was she had a lot of medications. And what happened, she went to the emergency room for an issue. And in that, they gave her a medicine, and that medicine did not interact well with the medicine that she was taking. And it actually caused her to have a stroke. And so she just never recovered from that. And so that was the second incident that I had with my mom with medication that it was like a light bulb moment for me that I needed to change my ways. So the other was before that, years before that, she had gone to the hospital with something and she's like, grab my medication. It was literally a grocery bag half full of medications. That was a trigger for me that I'm like, oh my gosh, why does she have so much medication? And then that second time when there was an interaction with those medications, for me, it was like, I need to do things differently. So that's kind of how I started on the journey. I started just like making small shifts in my life with the foods that I ate, how I approached like my own health. I at the time when I started shifting, I ate a lot of junk food, I smoked, I drank alcohol, and I just started cutting some of those things out. And so that's kind of was the beginning of my journey.
That is, I think a lot of people have a similar big thing that happens in their life, either to themselves or to a loved one, to a friend. And I think we're all brought up in this system unless we already have a natural minded family there for us. We're brought up in the system where we think that it's normal to take a medication for every small little sickness or symptom that we might have. And I think it's hard and difficult for people to understand because it's such a paradigm shift that people need to have to understand, our bodies really are in control of things if we let them. And we stop interfering. We like to tinker so much instead of just letting it happen. Um, a- and I think there's a lot of people that have that similar journey. And um, I'm hoping on the podcast is maybe we can expose people to this so that they can make changes earlier and maybe influence their family as well so that their family members don't have a similar path that they have to go on.
I think too, just to add a little bit to that, I think we are coming into a time of where people are seeking more natural alternatives to like medications and things like that. I think they're seeking that path of just more naturally taking care of themselves, and which I think is important. I think that's what we need. But there's a lot of like natural healing modalities out there for people that they just aren't aware of. So,
I saw something with it's talking is insurance based thing and it's talking about how the insurance industry is trying to make changes and the medical industry is trying to make changes because so many people are now coming to medical appointments and they want to know what's the cause of their issue. People are seeming to be more and more interested in figuring out what's causing an issue and trying to work on that correction. And there's a lot of that industry that's focused on just simply eradicating symptoms and bringing comfort to somebody instead. And and some of that is designed so that people can maybe have a better feeling of comfort while their body essentially is taking care of whatever is going on. Especially, you talk about your common cold, people are taking all these things, which half of them eh, increase the amount of time it takes to respond to or for their bodies to heal. And but they're comfortable during it, right? So suddenly they don't have a snotty nose and not coughing, and they feel so much better. They bounce back so fast from an infection. But if you take a blood work of the person and you take vitals on the person, you'll find out that they increase that time of infection by weeks sometimes, days. And so a common cold that maybe should pass through the system in 5 days, they're actually, still showing signs of sickness 2 weeks later. Um, but they felt good the entire time. And so y- I think it's challenging sometimes in the natural world because a lot of times, in order to address something properly, you have to go through a period of time where you're maybe more uncomfortable. Y- it's not always pleasant. Healing's not a pleasant process.
mm, you know,
As an example I use in the office oftentimes is, if you cut your finger, it takes time for that to heal and it's uncomfortable. It's itchy and it's a very uncomfortable process and that's healing. And healing takes time. And um, I think because of being used to all the medications out there, I think people don't have a real clear grasp on how long it takes to maybe heal from something. And um and quite frankly, they don't want to deal with that process. And I've been there before. I've been frustrated and how long something would take to get better when you let everything just do its thing. But ultimately, you're healing that way instead of just um, covering it up. You maybe you only ever get 70% or 80% better when you're not letting that process see its entire way through.
Yes, I agree with that. I think there's definitely a time and a place for medical like intervention to the point of where you need like maybe some pharmaceutical drugs and things. But I do also have believe that you can do some things more naturally. So, like just being a little bit more cautious about bringing in medications and things, like you said, because sometimes that can slow things down, which I think sometimes what we need to slow down is us. Slow down, find that calm, that peace, and just stop for a moment, give ourselves a moment to like regroup. And that is the energy part of like what I do is help people with meditation, with yoga, with the energy services that I offer. It helps them to just step back for a moment and just let chill out. Because when we get into like that feedback loop of like sickness and then a medication, sickness, medication, sickness, medication, sometimes we get stuck in that to the point that that's what we expect. We expect something to change when we take a medication. And that is sometimes an easier route to take than doing the work that it takes to like heal all the aspects, whether it is a cut on your finger or something that happens to you in another aspect. So there is like the physical pain that you're suffering, there is that mental, emotional pain that you're suffering, and there's even that energetic part of having sickness, illness, trauma, whatever it is that you're going through.
And that's what we're going to be talking about today is how to deal with, instead of the physical realm, how do we deal with the energy? And that's what you do. You're doing energy work, and um, we've had several conversations about how some people they like to kind of they own their symptoms,
Yes, yes.
and uh, they might call it my headache or uh, whatever symptom or diagnosis that they might have. Um, what are your thoughts on that?
So I'm always telling everyone, I'm like, stop claiming it. You can't claim it. And when someone will say my, and then they fill in the blank, I'm always like, reword that, reframe it to call it the headache, the sickness, the cancer, the broken leg, whatever it is, instead of saying my. Every time you say my energetically, you're like, putting on another layer of that. You're claiming it, you're owning it. And with like what I do with the energy work is we're peeling away those layers and layers of claiming so that you can release it and let it go. So the best thing to do anytime you have like a physical injury to the body, a trauma, um uh, anything that is like what happens is we get like breaks in our energy field, and the work that I do helps like repair that energy field. So when you're claiming, like, let's say an illness and you're saying my and you fill in the blank, each time you do that, it creates a little break in the energy field, which allows your energy to leak out. And over time, you become very depleted, you lose all your energy, things like that. And so what happens is the physical injury can heal, but then there's still that trauma of the energy of it, and we need to heal that. I'm sure you've heard of where people will have like phantom pains. Let's say they maybe have lost like part of their leg or something, but they can still have feeling in that. Have you heard of that before?
Sure.
So it's kind of that way, even though the thing has healed, like let's say like there was we'll say a surgery, right? Maybe to a shoulder, and even though this is repaired and it is fixed, there's still trauma from the pain that was suffered during the injury, pain suffering from the surgery, the trauma of the surgery, the trauma of healing, the trauma of the physical therapy, and all of that. And so each time those things are in there, it's like a little break in the energy field. So healing that energy around the thing that happened, the illness, whatever it is, that helps you heal on the mental, emotional, and physical level. So it's like we're that whole being, that whole spirit, mind, body, spirit. And so even though we're healing like the injury, let's say, there's still more that needs to be healed.
They're stuck.
Stuff.
Until they can release that, they are You're stuck in that place.
Mhm.
And, I know a lot of times even I'll see in the office, there's issues that someone are that's issues that someone has, and it's manifesting as something else, and they have a shoulder issue. Well, you check that shoulder out, and they've already been to the physical therapist, and they've gone the medical route, and they've had shots, and done all these things, and the shoulder's not changing. And I say it so often in the office, your shoulder's not the problem. There's something else going on there.
So that's where I can come in. That's what I tell everyone. If you have signs and symptoms and you've gone the medical route and they can't tell you what it is that's causing it, try energy work. Sometimes we don't actually know what the thing is that's causing it. Um, but if we heal that energy, if we repair that energy field around us, sometimes it'll just dissipate and go away. We don't necessarily have to know what it is, but a lot of times what happens in an energy session, that's what I call what I do. I actually will scan your energy field and you can feel in the energy field where energy might be stuck. So even though it might be like a shoulder pain, it might be coming, they may say like it's the left shoulder, but where the energy is stuck might be on the right shoulder. And so like our left side is our feminine energy side and our right side is our masculine energy side. So it might be coming from this masculine energy side, the energy that wants to take care of things and get things done. It's affecting the nurturing side of us, and so it's kind of it's very hard to explain how that works, but it's like because this side cannot just fix the problem, the other side is suffering from it. And so when you clear that stuck energy through there, it is like it allows that energy to flow again. And so we had talked about like the light switch, right? So flipping on the light switch. So if you go in to your wiring in your home and let's say a little mouse gets in there and he chews the wires, right? So when you flip the light switch on, suddenly the light doesn't come on. So what's the cause of that, right? There's a break in that energy field, that energy, that line of energy that goes from the light switch to the electrical box, right? And so you go in there and you repair where the little mouse chewed, right? And then suddenly the light switch works again. And so we have these energy channels that run through the body. And when energy gets stuck there, it doesn't allow that energy to flow freely and easily. It and so when we clear that up, right, if something's stuck and we clear it out, that allows that energy to flow again. And sometimes that's where the pain will just dissipate in the body. So it's quite an interesting process.
And you talk about the mouse, which I find to be an interesting concept because, um, you and I have also talked about sometimes that energy is maybe not even within ourself, right? But it's somewhere else. It's another stressor we have in our life, whether it be a person or a situation, um, which sometimes is almost easier to take care of the things inside ourselves than it is to take care of the things around us.
Yeah.
If that person is a loved one, I mean, it's really hard to cut the ties and for your own health to cut the ties or to repair that in a way to make it where it's not causing so much of an issue for yourself. Um, but you, it requires us to dig deep sometimes and to look at ourselves and the things we're doing as well as the things we're exposing ourselves to find what's causing the issue. And that makes your job, I'm sure, a lot more difficult because it's not just the person on the table that you're looking at that
So it's
probably may never be there.
right. So it's really about the energy and their energy field. So what you're speaking about is when so I always like to use this analogy. People, especially with their children and their loved ones, they will say, I wish I could take away their whatever it is, whatever their suffering, their pain is. And so, like, taking that on, like, you're trying to take on something that you cannot take on, that is theirs, and they have to work with it. But we create, like, stress in our lives from worry, fear, worry, fear, worry, fear, which we're worry fearing for that other person. And so that's the other stressors that can like weaken our energy field because we're so worried and concerned about someone else, especially the ones that we love, that it is so hard to let go of that. But like the scanning, so with what I do, like there's certain energy, like it's like energy reconstruction, like some different things that I do on and around the body. That's what I work with, the energy of and around the body. Okay, so sometimes I'm working outside of your energy field, and sometimes I'm working right in your energy field. So when we talked about like being a hairdresser, like I was in standing behind someone like doing their hair, like I'm in their energy field, like right up in it. Shampooing, I'm like right in that crown chakra area, doing reflexology and then those very strong, powerful chakras in the hands and feet, right? So it's like always you can have that with somebody else being in your energy field. And if you have that worry, fear about that person being so close to you, it can actually make those breaks in your energy field, which is where then you, like you said, if you like cut the ties with the person or something, that doesn't necessarily correct those. It's not going to correct those breaks in your energy field. You need to do that like energy reconstruction. You need to like reinforce your own energy field so that when we take care of ourselves, it allows us to take care of others better. It gives us a better ability to do that. And literally, like when scanning the system, like when I'm scanning your system, I can feel where that energy is stuck. And a lot of times when I'll say to the client, like, it was here, it was here. And then I'll say, it's your feminine or it's your masculine energy. And they know exactly what it is. And so when I'm doing a service too, this happens a lot too. So when a client comes in, I have them lay on the table, I bolster them up, I make them nice and comfy, and then I actually will give them an eye pack because sometimes when I'm doing the service, like there's something called the still point, and when we reach that still point, that's when healing happens for us. But we never really reach the still point, even when we're sleeping, because like when we're sleeping, we're twitching, we're jerking, we're tossing, we're turning, we're dreaming. And so we're not really in that still point. So it's hard, even when we're sleeping, to really let that healing happen. So in the energy session, it's like you're not really asleep, but you're not really there either. Like, and so with the eye pack, sometimes people will see things and it's super interesting because, like, I will say, this is what I saw. Sometimes I see things when I'm doing the session, sometimes I don't. And they're like, oh my gosh, I saw the same thing. Or they know exactly what I say to them, they know exactly what that means. And so, as we're doing that and we're peeling away, even though it's someone else's stuff that you're taking on, we can still like help you to let go of that. But part of it happens in your mind too, and so that sometimes is what people realize during a session, that they need to take better care of themselves and they need to not allow other people's energy to like control how they feel. So,
Well, and once again, you talked about the mouse, so if the mouse is a problem, the wires are still chewed, and
mhm,
so we still need to that problem still needs to be addressed, and
yes,
those wires would be the wires within ourselves.
correct.
It's quite a challenging thing.
It's yes, very challenging, but it's an interesting process. So what people say whenever we're done with an energy session, a lot of times what they'll say is it is more relaxing than even getting a massage because a massage is very relaxing. But the thing is, like, I create safe space for them to come in and just let everything go so that they can actually do that healing for themselves. And yeah, so as they are healing, as they're letting go of things, it's kind of like repairing the wires. And when the energy moves, sometimes people they'll be like, it's tingling, it feels like energy shooting out my feet. It feels like, so they'll describe it in different ways. And that's how you know, like the repair, we've repaired the energy field, AKA the wires. We've done the work there. And sometimes, like, it'll stay, whatever it is, will stay gone. Sometimes they may need another session or two to like clear something and they'll know. So this is what I tell people all the time. They're like, when should I do this again? I'm like, your system will tell you because that's what you were saying earlier when we talk about if we let the body do the body's job, our bodies will tell us when we need to and when we need to do the things we need to do, whether it's meditation, whether it's movement, whether it's an energy session, or see the chiropractor, or see the doctor, we know our system knows how to take care of us.
Um, I take care of some people in the office, and I've had theories before when I take care of someone that some people may not seemingly want to actually get better. And that's maybe not the right way to describe it, but it just feels like sometimes those people, uh, I've always just assumed that whatever their issue is that they're experiencing, they don't necessarily want to completely let that go because whatever it brings them in their life.
It's
Per,
their identity. Sometimes they
right.
focus on that as, who am I if this is not who I am?
And I think they get a lot of things from their symptoms.
I agree.
If you have a common thing that's always happening, a headache or back pain, you have people that know about that and they care about you and they ask about it. How's your head feeling? And I think some people get a feeling of comfort that then they know people care. And perhaps when that goes away, they might be almost scared that people won't care anymore. And uh, it's just been a theory I've had before when working on people that some people that just doesn't seem like they genuinely 100%. I think intellectually they want to get better, but subconsciously maybe they don't. And that's where they need to come to grips with dealing with the energy of that. And I don't want to say moving on, but addressing it appropriately so that they can be a healthier and happier individual.
Correct. And that is, to me, that would translate as a limiting belief. So, that limiting belief being that they feel that if they're not this illness, injury, whatever it is, then who are they? N- They, what their limiting belief around that is that they don't realize that the people who care still care, and really, the people who care would rather them be healthy and well than to be, they would rather ask them, how's your day going, rather than how's your head or how is your back? And so that is a bit of a limiting belief. And it is also, like you said, that energy of receiving, we'll call it attention, right? You're receiving attention from the people who really care. And then shifting for us and helping them heal, like through that limiting belief, helping them understand that the people who care still care, and they're just going to ask differently. They'll ask different questions, but they still do care. And so limiting beliefs can keep us stuck in a space. We can learn them. They can be put on us from parents, teachers, influential people in our lives. And so sometimes we can see something in someone else, and then maybe like someone who has an illness, who everybody, we as a person can see how much everyone cares, and maybe we want a little bit of that for ourselves. So when that happens, and when we have something go happen to us, then we see that, and our brain triggers a memory of, oh, I remember when this happened to so and so, they got all the attention. So there's a little bit of that kind of comes up naturally, that they're, and then once they experience the attention that they're getting from that, that's where it creates, and it builds and it builds, and then there again we're peeling away, peeling away. So even though we peel away, sometimes more things come on. So it is very interesting. It's just shifting what we focus on. It's shifting our attention from this thing over here to the wellness thing, and realizing that we're still loved, we're still good people, we're still all the good and wonderful things that we were, but now we just don't have the thing, right? So,
Um, Many years ago was the first time that I really got a grasp on energy and how that affects our own body. I was coming back from not really a mission, but we set up a chiropractic clinic in Africa, and it's a really cool trip. And on the way back, the girl sitting in front of me is looking at this book, and I have a copy. It's Hidden Messages in Water. It's by Masaru Emoto. I hope I said his name correctly. I believe he's now deceased. Um, but there's a couple sections in the book, and they just have pictures, and it's really interesting because the they took water and they exposed water to different things, positive emotions, negative emotions, um, like death metal music or something along those lines, and classical music. Basically expose it to things that in general most of us would consider to be good, healthy, beautiful, and also things that are bad and not healthy and maybe ugly. And they went through this process of crystallizing the water, and they looked at what those water crystals, how they formed microscopically. And the water that formed crystals that was exposed to these beautiful things, the crystals were all really pretty and they're symmetrical and they're what you would consider to be what a water crystal should look like. If we think of a snowflake, that's obviously more than one crystal of water, but snowflakes can be really pretty. And that's kind of what it looked like. It looked like these miniature snowflakes. And then the water is exposed to uh, the bad or the ugly things. They were all very misshapen, and they didn't look healthy. It is amazing. And uh, I remember looking at these pictures and I just had goosebumps. And it was just this aha moment for me that as the book goes on to explain, we are mostly waters. Was it 65% or something like that water? And so when we are exposing ourselves to all these things, we become that to some degree. And if you expose yourself to something beautiful and good and healthy, that is going to have a massive effect on your own body and how your body functions. It's just, for me, is as I said, is an aha moment. And I always have copies. I probably have 5 copies of this book now in the office, and you can get it uh, anywhere still. I just checked the other day. It's still on Amazon, so you can get yourself a copy. But read the book if you want. It's a really quick read. It's probably less than 200 pages. I don't read books real quickly, and it probably took me 2 days to get through it. Um, but the pictures, you can just go right to the pictures, and you already got the message of the book. Um, but that energy in our body is so key, and having uh, our energy working for us instead of against us is really important. And when we get exposed to things that maybe aren't good for us, that's where you also help people to reframe that and to just either figure out a way how to block that or how to deal with it appropriately.
Correct. So I just want to touch on that book. I use actually there's a video out that basically walks you through what that book is like. So I teach energy classes, and in those classes, one of them we watched the movie of it, the little movie. It's short, and you can see that in action where it's like the little kids surround the vial of water and they're like, "You are beautiful, you are lovely." And then they surround another vial of water and they're like, "You're ugly, you're terrible, blah, blah, blah." So, what we say when we speak it out, or whether we say it inside our head, that is what we are attracting and that's what we're creating within our bodies. And yes, because we are like mostly water. And when you touched on something outside of ourselves that's causing our blocked energy, also in the show, the movie, they showed where they collected water samples from different places, like falls in the country, or I don't know, a pond in the closer to the city, and how the environment affects the water too. So not only what we speak and what we think about is affecting us, but what we surround ourselves with is what is affecting us as well. So our environment plays a big part in how we think and how we feel. And so again, back to that, like sometimes I use this analogy a lot. If you walk into a room or have you ever walked into the room and you can feel the tension in the room, you know that saying, you can cut the tension with a knife. So when you walk in, you feel that. It feels very dense and feels very heavy on you. Or you walk into a room and everybody's laughing and happy. You don't even need to know what they're laughing about. See, it makes me smile thinking about it. Because when you get in that energy, around that energy, like it lifts your energy too. A baby laughing, you will almost always chuckle because there's something about a baby laughing, that joy that spreads out. And so our environment affects us just as much as what we think, what we do, what we speak, what we feel. All of that is affecting our energy. And yeah, so I can help people like move that energy through. Just scanning alone helps to like start to clear that energy field. But there's also some energetic structuring that I do with the body that helps bring the energy of the body back to the body, and it, in a sense, helps to repair that energy field. And when people have an energy session, they usually feel calmer. They feel it's calm but energized. So because they are getting back their energy. A lot of times, what happens, people will notice that they sleep better. For me, after I've had an energy session, so I'm very connected to animals. And what I notice is like I just start seeing animals everywhere, like not just the dog or the cat. Like I will see like a whole herd of deer. Like just the one time I was like, oh, isn't that interesting? Something drew my eye to it, and it was a herd of deer. They're just laying, and like I stopped my car, I took a picture of it. And like when you look at the picture, you don't see the deer, but you blow it up and you can see the deer. So that's the kind of stuff. When my energy is whole and well, like I'm more aware of what's going on around me, my surroundings. And then also I'll see like a fox, or, I'll run into a fox, not run into, but like a fox will run across the road in front of me. I will see like cardinals or blue jays like grouped together, like different things like that. And so it just depends on each person, like their energy field repairs in a way. And that is best for them, and they become more aware of things going on around them. And as you heal that, your system enjoys that peaceful, calm, like whole energy, calm, energized energy, and it seeks more of that. And so that's when we have started that process of healing, and we just keep taking that path. And I think it just leads us to more and more energy, like healing modalities, more natural healing modalities. So,
You mentioned a pack of deer. I don't know if you remember when we used to be in BNI together, and I'd ride my bike to our meetings.
and you
uh,
had ghosts.
And I saw a herd of deer as
Hmm.
riding to the meeting, and I thought it was really beautiful and majestic. And then they all started running, and they're running alongside the road. I thought it was really cool and what an experience. And all of a sudden they turned and they all started running towards the road. The next thing I realize is this pack of deer is probably, I don't know, 13, maybe probably not quite 20. What I realize is they're all coming at me. And they're running towards the road, and all of a sudden I realize, oh my gosh, I'm going to get run over by all these deer, and hoping that they saw me. And I'll tell you that my energy in the moment was very, very, very high at the time. Thankfully, the deer did not run into me, but they were. I mean, they were in front of my tire at times by inches. I doubt it was even a foot.
Oh my.
And you don't realize how big and heavy a deer is until you hear them all running towards you and hearing their hooves hit the ground. Um, there's that was quite the experience for me. And I don't know what that says about myself and energy working right now.
Right. So
But
it's
I got
different.
run over by it.
Right. So it's different for everyone. But that, as you described that, that is a form of a trauma that can happen. Like it was a beautiful thing. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my goodness, they're going to run me over. That can create that a little bit of fear, you know? And it's totally understandable. So, yeah, so that is like a trauma. And so then every time we have a trauma, that makes a little break in your energy field. So even though that was like a cool thing and you've let it go, it's nothing, no one got hurt or anything, that still created a little break in your energy field because it was a form of trauma. And so that's the thing with trauma. Sometimes it's something very small. It can be very significant. It can be a big thing, but sometimes it's the little things over time, over time, over time, more little things, little things, little things, and they build up to where they just like drain all of your energy out because your energy field, it isn't whole and complete, and so your energy is leaking out. And time after time after time, little things, big thing, little thing, it just all adds up over time. But yeah, so that beautiful thing turning into a trauma. My son, there are so many moments you have with your kids, and they like to share something with you, and we're all so busy, right? And so they create this artwork, or they have something, and they they want to share it with you, and you, we have this tendency to put it off, right? And I'm guilty of this, and just give me a moment, just give me a moment, just give me a moment, and we've taken their beautiful thing, and we've minimized it and said, "I don't have time for that now." And I think we all can be better, and it's not just with our kids, but gosh, we have an opportunity with kids to set them up for a huge success or not in their life. And sometimes it's just taking that brief moment when they want to share something with you and stopping and pausing for a second and acknowledging and saying, "Wow, that's awesome. Way to go." And And not
uh,
only that as kids that starts, so something to touch on with that, and that starts as children, but it also goes into our adult lives, even like at your job. Because like you only most of the time you don't get recognized for the good things that you do. You only get told when something goes bad. So and that definitely I noticed when in business, like sometimes people will only come at you with a complaint and never really come and be like, great job. So it's not only as children, but it's through your whole life. And those are all traumas.
it it feels good when you're told you did a good job,
It
and
does.
we don't hear that a whole lot.
Yes,
Uh, so I think as a business owner, myself as a business owner as well with you, business owners can do a whole lot better of it doesn't have to be a big grand gesture. Just sometimes saying,
thank
"Thank
you.
you, good job," or point out something that the person did well. It goes a long way. I try to. I don't do it every single night, but I try to when my staff leaves. I try to say thank you, and it's not a token thing that I'm doing. I really genuinely want to thank them for taking the time away from their day, taking themselves away from their family to help me. And uh, I
I
think we can be a lot better overall as people of showing appreciation
I
for
agree.
others.
I always did the same thing too. I would always say thank you at the end of the day. And but sometimes I think that we have a hard time receiving that, right? So that puts like there's giving and there's receiving. So I think we are really good energetically at giving, but when it comes to receiving, we have a hard time doing that. So sometimes when you say thank you to someone, their system doesn't recognize that as much. They don't take it as personally that you appreciate them. They're more prone to, and it's I don't really quite understand the energy of that myself yet, but we are more prone to the negative than we are the positive reinforcements. And so you can do, I actually talk about this in my book. One time with a person, I gave them every day they ever asked for off, and then one time I couldn't, and I was met with, "You never give me anything." From their perspective, that's what it looked like. In my perspective, I'm like, this is the first time I've said no. So there's something in the energy of the programming and the experiences that we have that teach us the negative things are so much more powerful than the positive. So it's like you said, one negative, you have to do 10 positives for that to do something different, to have a different effect on the person. So
So you're talking about your process for clearing people's energy. What exactly are you doing? Without going too technical.
right. So really, I am scanning the body and the energy of, okay, so energy flows through us, right? This is how we can be affected by the energy of the room, right? So I am having the intention, right? Energy follows intention, that this universal life force energy that we can all tap into, that's what flows through our chakras. And so I have this vision, intention that as I'm scanning your body, that it is clearing. And that is exactly what's happening. People can like feel it. Like you can feel the energy, like where it gets dense. You can feel the energy when it clears. You can see. So in like I teach energy classes and I'll teach people how to like clear their chakras. And we look at some different things that will, you can't touch it and you can't see it, the energy in action, but you can feel it. So in the classes I teach people, I show people this is energy in action, just like the messages in the water, you know. So what we're doing is we're going through and basically scanning is the main thing that I do. I scan the body. That takes a long time, but there are some like energy things. I work in the energy of your body to help like do some reconstruction of that energy field. And it just helps give the energy something to restructure around. So when there's like those breaks in the energy field, so the main thing is really the scanning, but I also will bring in like balancing the chakras and creating like an energetic container around the body for that energy to come back to be held in so that it can restructure and like bring your energy back. So,
I think we talk about flow, right? In my line of work, I'm trying to get proper nerve flow. You're trying to get proper energy flow in the person. You don't want stagnation of either of those. You
correct.
want there to be proper movement, and and movement is always just like a wave. Movement goes both ways. A wave comes onto the shore and then it goes back into the body of water. We want to have a clean flow going both ways for people, both in your line of work and in my line of work. I think probably if you break it down and look at a lot of the natural health fields, you'll find that everyone's focused on having some correction of a flow and getting that working properly and appropriately for that particular person.
Correct. And so when you think about like you're getting nerve flow, I am helping them with energy flow. So when you're stacking like these different healing modalities on top of each other, that's how you're helping your body to repair from the traumas, the actual physical injuries, the physical things that happen to us, the things that sometimes it might be like our job. I'm going to use this for example, like so I want to be careful how I say this. The issues that usually show up for me are on the right side of my body. So there's mental, emotional things like that. Like I am very much a doer. I'm like get things done, take care of things. That's that masculine energy part of me, right? But I also have that nurturing side. But when they show up on the right side of my body, so one thing I did in my car there is a armrest, right? And I found myself doing this. So there I am, like with this very strong masculine energy trying to get everything done. But I'm also messing with that the balance of my spine, right? Because I'm leaning, right? And I'm leaning into it. And then that's also probably blocking nerve flow. And so things we do, just like living our lives, can put things out of balance. And really, what ultimately, when we're healing the body, we're bringing everything back into balance. And so, most of the time, not just one thing, there's not just one thing that's going to heal everything for the person. It's like we're multidimensional and we need to like focus on different ways to help ourselves. So it's not only about what we're doing, it's about what we're thinking, it's about what we're feeding our bodies, it's all the things all together. And so, yeah, it's very interesting.
There's a lot of things that go into why we're not maybe functioning correctly, and it does take sometimes multiple therapies, modalities, and changes in our
Changes.
own selves and the things we're doing to fully address an issue. And
Absolutely.
I take care of a number of people where it seems like they're happy with where they're at. They're at 70% better or 60% better. And they will even say, like, I'm perfectly happy with where I'm at. And I'm stepping back from that situation saying, you could be so much better. How do we address that? And as a healthcare provider, it can be intimidating because there's a million things that you can do. And of those million things, I'm trained in one or two. And so are most other healthcare providers. They're trained in just a few things and they're good at a few things. And so then it's reaching out and trying to figure out what else that person needs. And that's really why I want to do this podcast, is so that we can introduce people to that and introduce myself to those people so we can better help and work together as a better network of people. Um, when you talk about energy, how do you sense that? Especially, I can barely even know what the energy is within my own body. How do you sense the energy in another person?
So practice makes perfect, right? The more we do it, the better we get at it. But so if you think about, have you ever just like got like a chill, whoa, and you turn around, someone walks past you, and you just feel that? That is that energy, right? So you just learn to develop that skill. You just keep practicing it and you begin to notice it. And some people are, so we all have all of these, like we have our regular senses, but we also have what we call the psychic senses. And for me, it's feeling, like I feel things, I know things, I see things, right? But I'm very sensitive to the energy, right? For some reason, I am super sensitive. Anybody can develop the skill. It's just practicing it really and making it. So yeah, I'm very aware of not only my own system, what my own system is doing, but I can also sense in other people. I can tell by, like, I just feel their energy when they walk in the room. I can look at their face. I can be like, so that this used to happen a lot and it still does. I will see someone and I'll be like, "Are you okay?" And they'll just start crying because like they are carrying something very, very heavy with them. And I can just sense that because I've done this type of work for so long that I have really developed that skill. And so then they just start sharing. And so we all have one psychic sense that is stronger. And for me, it was always like that feeling, right? So I remember when I first started learning about energy work, I would have like this tingling in my fingers, right? And when I first got like an attunement, so you get attuned to the energy, which helps you to flow that energy better, helps you have just be able to tune into it, right? So I got the attunement and like that feeling went away. And there was a part of me that almost regretted having gotten the attunement because I was like, I don't feel like I used to feel. So what happened was that feeling dominant sense that I had kind of like it's not that it went any different, just the others started to come on board and I started to be able to know more, to see more, to sense more, right? And so all those psychic senses more work together. And that feeling sense, once I understood what was happening, that feeling, I still have that. It's just as strong as it ever was, but now I have the other senses to support that. So it just kind of all works together. And like I said, like I teach classes on this because I want to help other people to understand that they have that power within them too. So, yeah.
You mentioned it briefly before. You mentioned meridians of the body,
Yes, the energy
and
channels.
can you expand on that? What are our meridians?
Okay, so meridians are not my area of expertise. That's like a traditional TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. But a lot of the energy and flow and stuff of the body is based off of that, those energy channels, the flow of the energy through the body. And this goes back to when I said the analogy about the wiring in the house, and how things get stuck. So, that is really not my area of expertise, but I have had acupuncture done. It follows kind of those same meridians. It's kind of like a flow of energy through the body is how I would explain it. But meridians, I've had some training in meridians, but no, I'm not as competent in that, speaking on that. So, but it's really, to me, it's the energy of the body and how the energy flows through the body.
I know
So,
there's different meridian centers. I too am not
not
trained or knowledgeable on meridians. Um, so once you find areas are an issue for people and you have blockages or not free flow of energy happening, what do you do to correct that?
So what I would do is I will flow the energy to that space, like through the hand chakras, right? So I may just like hover above the space, or I may actually do like a hands on with it. So if you think about like going back to the energy channels of the body, right? So where do most people have their where do they have like injuries and things? In their major joints, right? So that is like where the energy tends to get stuck. So just kind of finding like a lot of times you'll find like the energy that will be stuck. I'm going to the shoulder because that is a place where I work on healing all the time. But like that energy will just be stuck there. And sometimes you just lay your hand on there and you just kind of focus on flowing life force energy into that space. And what happens is a lot of times the person will report feeling tingly in that area. They'll report like, "Oh, your hands were so hot," And actually, what happens when I'm doing the energy work, a lot of times what'll happen is I'll feel that heat in my hands. This is how I know the energy is flowing. These are the things that I experience. Like my eyes will water, my nose runs a little bit. I'll yawn. That yawning is a thing that a lot of people experience. Like there's something about that, and that yawning is how we know the energy is moving. And like the client will like I will watch my client. They'll let out a big sigh or they'll cough or they'll twitch or they'll, something like that. That's how we know that that energy is flowing through the body. Like it unsticks the energy. And a lot of times they're not aware of it when we like end the session. Sometimes they're like, "I felt that," when I'll say, like, "You jerk," and they're like, "I felt that." And I'm like, to me, that is that energy releasing, letting go out of the body. It's like they suddenly that area comes alive again. And it's really quite a cool process. One of my clients one time, I'm gonna share this story. His son had an injury in his lower leg. He ended up with like compartment syndrome. And that is where the muscle swelling inside the fascia, and they have to go in, and they have to open that up to release that swelling, or it can cut off the blood flow and the nerves and all the things. He had an injury like that, and we did energy work, and his leg like kicked. And from that point on, his dad was in there. He saw that happen. And he reported to me later that he's like, he hasn't had any issues with that lower leg since then.
Mm.
So, like, the injury itself had actually healed, but there was still the trauma that was still contained there from the pain and the suffering and the injury itself. Like, there's layers of the injury, right? So there's the thing that happened, the fear around that, the pain, the initial pain that comes in, the trauma that this body goes through while it's trying to heal that. Are you familiar with there is a where it's like a gazelle, and the gazelle, something happens, and he goes into like a experience, and his body just shakes and shakes, and he like shakes that off, right? And there is a video on like YouTube or something that you can see. It's like he has an incident with another animal chasing him, and he gets away, and then his system just like shakes, 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 and then he gets up and walks away. So animals know how to release that energy. We as humans, we don't know how to release that. So our system holds on to it. And so doing like movement or energy work or chiropractic or whatever it is that we're doing, that helps to move stuck energy through the body. And that's what we want to do is we want to move out that stuck, stagnant, stale energy that's stuck in the body. So it's really quite an interesting process when you get to see that happening.
We literally hold on to things, and a common phrase is just let it go. And s- obviously, sometimes that's easier said than done. And sometimes we can't just let it go because there is something that's manifesting within our own body, and we need help. We need help. We need someone else that can help to transition that and move that in the proper way. As you said, we're not the gazelle. We don't have that that system designed to literally, in their case, just shake it off.
Hmm.
It's really fascinating.
And
Uh,
you have seen the video.
I have not seen the
Oh,
video,
it
so I'm gonna
is,
have to look it up.
you will have to look up. It's really interesting. I think it's gazelle letting go of trauma or something like that is what you could Google and find it.
Um, Another story that we wanted to talk about, uh, and maybe this can help people out that are dealing with learning how to reframe and learn how energy is affecting their body is uh, happened actually yesterday, and I, I sent you a message, and
Yes.
I just wanted to let you know, just in general, um, what I wear for the show, um, and your experience was very different than what my experience was. So, tell your story and tell you
Okay,
how you work
so
through this.
this is programming, right? So what I have to do with this situation is I'm reprogramming myself. So what happened was the message came in, I was busy, it showed up on my watch, and I looked down. What I saw was, can you wear? And in my brain, I immediately was angry because I was like, don't tell me what to wear. So there's some kind of trauma that I need to still work through. I recognize this. This is something I've known for a few years. And I try to, it like almost gives me like a little anxiety to think about this because so there's some kind of trauma that I'm still working through that I need to get through where I was probably made to wear something that I did not feel comfortable in, that I did not like. Maybe some kid made fun of me when I was wearing it. I don't know, but there's something in me that does not like to be told what I have to wear. And when I saw that, I was like, he wants me to wear something specific. And I was immediately mad about it. And so my reprogramming is okay, let's just see what he has to say. Let's look at this message, see, and we'll figure it out. So that is a trigger for me. That's a huge trigger to be told what I have to wear, right? And so then I look at the message and it didn't say that at all. But my brain took that as you're being told what to wear and immediately. So I had to reprogram it. And I wanted to share that with you. I wanted to let you know that that was a trigger for me because that is the kind of stuff that we're talking about, clearing the energy of that. What your message said was, this is what I wear. You can wear whatever you want. And what I saw was, can you wear? So our brain is like interesting how it will take things and process it. I tell people this all the time. Like, we take our information and we process it in a way that makes sense to us. And then we take our action steps based on that. And that what I was processing was what I thought was being told to wear a specific thing. And it wasn't that at all. So in reprogramming, I'm like, okay, so look, it didn't turn out like I immediately thought it was going to. I was given the choice to wear whatever I want. And so it's interesting when you start to recognize the things that trigger you, that is generally where the energy is stuck and it needs to be cleared.
and it is simply a misunderstanding.
Mhm,
And um, I think there are a lot of people that have triggers from a simple misunderstanding,
mhm,
and those triggers are likely from past experiences, traumas, or whatever beliefs they might have. And I can't say it's a wrong response because there's not a wrong or a right response, correct?
correct.
There's not right or wrong. There's simply what works best for you. And there are cases where maybe your response doesn't work best for you, and for the betterment of yourself, and for your health. And so, once again, we can't really label it as the wrong response because we can't make things right or wrong. We need to accept all of those and work with the things that work well for us and bring us to a higher level. But it is really fascinating when you had mentioned that I had triggered you because I had gone back and looked at my message because you sent that to me actually last night and said you
Yes,
wanted to talk about this trigger. And I went back and looked at my message. I'm like, I never told her what to wear. I don't think I did. That's not typically in my nature. I usually ask people, or in this case, I was just saying, hey, here's what I wear. You wear whatever you want. Because I didn't want you to show up in, a prom dress, and here I am slumming it out in pajamas or something.
right.
So I just want us to maybe have a little bit of uh, uniformity, I
Yeah,
suppose is maybe the term I'm looking for, but, I didn't really care necessarily what you wanted to wear. But it's really fascinating, and, um, uh, you looked at that situation, and the first thing that you did was, "Why am I having this reaction?"
mhm,
Right? And, but you gave yourself that time to think about that instead of having a complete knee-jerk reaction to it. So you never sent me a text message chewing me out or something like that, right?
correct.
You stepped back and said, "Why am I having this reaction? And let's evaluate this situation on with an unbiased view first to determine if my reaction is um, appropriate for the situation, or not." And I don't know if appropriate's the right term either, because that's once again going to the right and the wrong thing. Uh, um, but I think that's something we can all learn. It's a valuable lesson. Really, we all need to take just a moment before we have reactions. And, what we taught at a really young age, count to 10 and think about this for a second before you place judgment, or react in a way. And it's a really challenging thing. And we have a society now that everything is so quick. We're quick to judge, and so I think it's a valuable lesson for a lot of people to learn, and how to address a situation fully, and um, in order to take care of themselves.
So, in response to that, so our experiences teach us how to respond to the situation. So when I said probably I was made to wear something that made me uncomfortable or whatever it was, so that experience from years ago taught me to be, oh no, because like I was upset, I was hurt, I was angry when whatever happened, when I had to wear the thing that I didn't like. And so it's what our system does is we have an experience, and whatever comes from that experience, our system will make a little file about that. And then it's like, this is how we respond when this situation comes up. And so, one of the things that I've learned over time is we don't get to control what happens to us. We get to control how we show up for what happens to us. And it's generally not to us, it's for us. So, like that, nothing on your part. It was how my system responded to that message, how my system looked at that message and immediately thought, he's telling me what to wear. And that's not what you were doing at all. But my system went and pulled out those files that said, be angry, be upset, be hurt. And it wasn't that at all. So I wanted to talk about that today. I wanted to share that because it can be something as simple as that. I'm not positive where that energy has come from for me, but I know that it's something that's triggered me for a lot of years. And so when it came up, I'm like, how funny this is. Like, I look at my situations different now than what I used to because I understand that energy and how it affects me and how it affects how I show up in a situation, what response I give to it, right? So, yeah, so it's to me, I am like, we just have to start to understand where the things are coming from and where that energy is stuck. And every time we recognize that and we shift our focus and we choose a different path, we are actually, in fact, healing a little bit of that, healing a little bit of that. So eventually, what will happen is a message like that, someone will text me, can you wear this color? I will not be affected by it at all. But right now, I recognize it as something that I am still working on. And I wanted to share that because it can be that simple where energy can get stuck in the system.
Mhm. I think that's great. And I think it's a good place for us to maybe close up. And
Yes.
do you have any closing thoughts you'd like to share with anyone other than
I would say
positive?
if you ever have an opportunity to get some energy work, get some energy work. What most people are familiar with is called Reiki, Reiki. Definitely check into finding a practitioner near you where you could get some energy work done. You might be amazed at how different you feel just after that situation. And actually, you can do your own self Reiki too. You can do healing services on yourself. So when we think about like the healing energy of how feeling and how we're helping people, we didn't touch on this. So I do want to say that when we think about our children, when our children have like they fell down, they hurt themselves, skinned up their knee, what does the mother do? She holds it, she rubs it, she kisses it. That is sending energy, right? That is giving that child, sharing that life force energy with that child, and it heals and it makes things better. So when you look at energy healing, if you think of it in that aspect, it helps us to have a better understanding of it. And I would just recommend that everybody should at least try it one time.
And also better for parents to properly handle that situation when the kid falls, because a lot of times the first thing the parent does when the kid falls is they have to point out what the kid did wrong.
Yes.
And, and that's not the time for that. There's a time for a lesson, but the time at that very moment is to show love and nurturing. And um, once again, we're programmed to, that was an impact on our day, and it kind of made us mad because it took us out of whatever we were trying to do at the time. And so counting to 10, or if you can't count to 10 because the kid's screaming, at least if you can count to 2 or 3, that'd be fantastic. Take a short breath and nurture them first. And then, you know, once the tears are calmed down, then you can have the little discussion for how could they have avoided that, or what did they maybe do that led to that situation. But taking a moment and processing thoughts before reacting, once again, that's what I'm taking home from this, is just take a little breath sometimes.
Shift your energy, shift your focus, what you're focusing on. And that raises it raises your vibration and it takes you out of that moment of being upset with them for causing the thing or whatever, or with yourself, just letting that energy go for a moment. And if we can stop thinking about, this is what I talk about in my book. It's symbols to help you stop thinking about like, oh my gosh, they took me out. I was trying to get this done and da da. And it creates this like negative feedback loop that lowers our vibration. If we can stop that for a moment, for a moment, for a moment. And with the book, that's what I do. I'm like, I give you symbols to use to stop that thought because you can only hold one thought at a time. If you take that symbol and you work with it, you stop. And when you look at it, you can look at it from a different perspective and see that, you know, instead of like yelling at them or scolding them or whatever it is that you would do for them for having the thing happen. You just take that time, like you said, and you give them that moment, and then you come at them with a totally different perspective and a different energy. And that energy either like pumps them up and helps them realize that they could do things different, or it can, if it's in the moment with that anger or whatever that's happening, that you're being brought out of what you have to do, that can have a very strong impact on them. So either way, the energy that we bring to a situation has a very strong impact on the outcome and
Well,
for the future. So
thank you, Lena.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
It was great to have you. I learned a lot. I hope everyone else learned a lot. Um, your book,
Yes.
can get it on Amazon. I know that. Where else is it
Or
available
Hay
for people?
House.
Hay
Hay
House, okay.
House. Yep, you can. Balboa Press. So yeah, so you can get it there, and then yeah.
Read it.
Yes.
So thank you, Lena. We will definitely be having you on the show some more because as we've discussed with all of your certifications and licenses, there is a lot more knowledge uh, that's floating around in your head. So we would like to be able to share that with the world. As for now, we're going to bid you a farewell. This is the Gentle Shift, Health by Choice, Not by Chance. I am Dr. Aaron Kiefer. Lena
Lena
Springer.
Springer.
Be well.
Yay.
Yeah.
That's right. Yay.